Well, that was the final episode of the first half of Mushoku Tensei, and my god, they went out with the biggest bang I think they could have possibly had at this point in the story. Guys, I really don't think I'm going to survive the 3-month wait until part 2. I know it doesn't seem that bad, but after this week, after the insanity that ensued, God, it's going to suck not having Mushoku Tensei to look forward to. Hello everybody, I am Phenom Sage, and welcome back to another Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation review, the last one for a while. Today we're going to be talking about Episode 11, Children and Warriors, and they always know the perfect thing to title these episodes because that phrase kind of encapsulates a lot of the thematic and character growth that goes on in this episode, and man, just what a great way to cap off this season, this first half of the season. They really did go out with a bang, a much bigger bang than I was even anticipating after last week, and I love specifically how well everything in this episode ties back into the moral and ethical dilemmas that were going on last week. That entire ideological clash between Rudeus and Ruijerd actually gets subverted in a really interesting way, and overall, I just really love where every single character is in terms of their relationship by the end of this episode. It really feels like we finally are a team. This is a party. This is a group of people that will work together and trust each other. Up to this point, everyone kind of had their own motivations and their own agenda. Ruijerd just cared about escorting them home, Eris just cared about staying near Rudeus, and Rudeus just cared about leading the group and figuring out how to get Eris home. And I like that even though by the end of the episode all of those motivations are still relatively the same, there's a deeper level of communication and understanding between all of them. There's way more chemistry, there's way more trust, they're closer to each other because of what they went through this episode, and I think that all comes down to how Rudeus and Ruijerd's relationship reached kind of a climax here with how ideologies were tested. At a certain point in the episode, Nokopara, the horse dude, basically threatens Rudeus and the team that he'll snitch on them and get their licenses revoked if they don't share the money that they're making from these higher level hunts. And last week, I talked about Rudeus's ideology seemed like it was dictating him not to kill, even in the worst case scenarios where it would make his life much harder not to, and here we find out, no, he actually will straight up kill if it's for the sake of someone that he cares about. In this case, he says he would be willing to destroy this entire city. He would be willing to go back on his promise of restoring the spirit's reputation if it meant protecting Eris and making sure she got home safely. And I love that we are seeing Rudeus being put to these limits, his back against the wall, because of all the mistakes he's been making these past few weeks, the deaths that he's inadvertently caused. It's the natural place to take his character, and I think they did it really well. And I love that Rudeus does make mistakes. I've seen so many people complain that Rudeus is this Gary Stu, overpowered Deus Ex Machina protagonist, and I don't see it, man. I don't see it at all. Not from the very beginning of the series, and especially not now. Hell, you can even see in the battle with the Red Hood Cobra that Rudeus and Eris wouldn't have stood a chance against this thing if Ruijerd wasn't backing them up. They always do a really good job of showcasing that even though Rudeus has a lot of potential, he still has a long ways to go before he can reach it. What I love even more about that scene with Rudeus and Nokopara though, and how Rudeus in contrast to last episode was straight up willing to kill him to solve his problems, what I love is that in the end, Ruijerd is the one who helps Rudeus find a solution that doesn't involve killing him, a way to resolve this situation without breaking his ideology and his ethics. It's such a great poetic table flip with the way their roles are reversed, and I love how it helps them understand each other more by the end of the episode. The way Ruijerd now doesn't see Rudeus as a child, but as a warrior because of his will and his determination to protect Eris and do whatever it takes. They display that really well visually too because of the way that Ruijerd interacts with children. We've seen him pat Rudeus and Eris on the head when he considers them children, and now by the end of this episode, he actually reaches out his hand to Rudeus to shake it as an equal. You can see that even earlier in the episode when he's about to reach for Kurt's head to pat him, but then instead he holds his shoulder as a way of showing respect. On the topic of Kurt, we see that just like I was saying the other week, just like I'm sure everyone was expecting, it really isn't as easy to dispel prejudice and racism as I think Rudius was expecting it to be, and I don't think Rudius was dumb for thinking the way that he was. I think he was just approaching it from a very logical, pragmatic perspective. That's how he's been approaching everything recently, even down to waiting to save Kurt's party for as long as possible to gain more appreciation and more respect. That ended up biting him in the ass and ended up getting someone killed. So when you reach these situations, in this case, of course it would be a natural conclusion to say, oh, if we save them, they won't be afraid of us anymore. But the nature of a person isn't that logical. It's not that straightforward. And we see that even after Ruijerd saved Kurt's party, even after they were in that desperate situation, they're still afraid of him when they find out that he is part of the Spirit. It's sad, but I also hope that since Kurt and his other party member are still alive, that we see them again at some point in the story. I think that'd be pretty dope, especially if you bring them back and they learn not to be scared of Ruijerd anymore. But let's back up a little bit, all the way to the beginning of the episode, where we see Roxy approaching the site of the gigantic beam of light from the Turning Point 1, and also hear a monologue from Paul that drops some major plot bombshells. Zenith, Lilia, and Aisha are missing, apparently, and we can assume that they were transported like Rudius and Eris were, but we don't know where, and we still have no idea why. What this means, though, is that that beam of light was much, much bigger than was originally communicated in that episode. In that episode, we only saw it from Rudius's perspective as it engulfed the Roa Kingdom, but in actuality, it seems like it engulfed the entire region. We also know that Paul has left for the Holy Millis Kingdom on the Millis continent, where he's set up a search party and is part of a clan, which to me kind of implies that he knows that that beam of light has sent people far, far away and is checking wherever he can. This entire monologue, though, has only baffled me even further, and it's kind of what gets me so excited to see the second half of this season. The mysteries, man. What is that light? Where did it come from, and what is the nature of it? I initially thought that it was just transporting everyone from that city, but now knowing that it engulfed that entire region, and also that it was selectively choosing who to teleport, what is going on here, man? There's a list of dead, there's destruction on the site, Paul and Norn are left behind. What does this mean? Why were Paul and Norn left behind? What decided who was teleported and who wasn't? My guess, if you want some theory crafting right now, is that it has to do with some kind of latent mana inside of the person, maybe, which is why Paul wouldn't be teleported since he doesn't use mana and maybe never had the gift for it. But I have no idea what's going on here, and that's pretty exciting to me. What's just as exciting, though, is that we meet two other members of Paul's adventurer party, the Fangs of the Black Wolf, a dwarf-looking dude and an elf-looking chick. Both of their designs are sick, they'll probably be really dope characters, and they both embark with Roxy to find Paul and figure out what the hell is going on, and I can't wait to figure out what the hell is going on. What I don't understand here is how, from what I can see, they all seem to be going to the exact same port city that Rudius and the gang are arriving at as well. That seems like a pretty crazy coincidence, but I guess we'll find out what's going on with that next season. Overall, a top tier banger episode to end the first half on, and I really cannot stress enough how blessed this adaptation is, man. I know it must be tiring to keep hearing the same studio bind praise over and over again every single week, but I specifically need to praise it this week because the production, the animation, the direction this episode was on another level. It felt like a goddamn movie at points. Not just the epic fights in the forest with the snakes, but even just the smaller character moments were given so much life and so much energy in a way that you rarely ever see from TV anime. It's unreal what they did on this episode. I could tell right from the beginning that something was different with the way Roxy was animated, and the way the Demon City was animated, and the way that these these characters looked. It was just so good. I feel so happy right now that such a good story is being treated with this much care. And while I am sad that there's going to be a 3-month wait in between, I am happy that they're getting that extra time that they need to really make the second half just as special as this one. I can't wait. Of course, I will be here in the summer season to cover that second half of the series. I'm probably going to be covering this series until it's completely finished, so I hope you guys are in for the long haul with me. I really cannot thank you guys enough for all of the support and all of the discussion and fun you've given me while making these reviews. I really just wanted to do this for fun because I was excited about the show, and it's really awesome that it attracted so many other people to tune in with me. I will say that if you want more Mushoku content in the meantime while we wait for that second half, you should subscribe to my main channel because I'm definitely going to be making some video essays on the series on a couple of topics that I've wanted to talk about in more detail, including a video that will probably be going up tomorrow about Rudeus's character and the deeper meta surrounding him. That's going to be a good one. Look at that thumbnail, it's going to be spicy. Go over to that channel if you're interested in those deeper videos on the series. I will also link it in the comments and description when it's uploaded if you're watching this in the future. Otherwise, that's been all from me for now, guys. Join my Discord community if you want to talk about this series and hang around with people during this long 3-month wait. It's going to be tough, but I think it will be easier when we're all talking together. Thank you all for watching. I love you, and I will see you in the next video.